It's such an important issue for our youth and adults. As you said, some of these laws are actually extending into adulthood. We often say that gender affirming care is health care, gender affirming care is mental health care, and gender affirming care is literally suicide prevention care. Would that be your view as well?
I 100% agree.
So with Pride Month for June 2023 about to end, this last weekend there was a lot of parades and a lot of festivities going on, and there was a lot of interviews also going on the street. Now, this particular interview that I want to basically cover is asking the question about when is a good time, or up to what age is a good time for kids to be able to transition from one sex to the other. And it's very unfortunate that in America in 2023, we're at this point where a question like that is being asked, or even being approached, or even being thought of. But that's where we're at right now. So it's good to see what I would imagine a lot of these people at this parade are part of the LGBTQ community. So it's good to see their perspective and their point of view on this particular topic and this particular question. Me personally, we shouldn't even be thinking about this, till someone is of age and become an adult. I mean, we don't allow kids to smoke cigarettes. We don't allow kids to go ahead and buy beer. So something like this should not be allowed as well. But let's see what they say just to get a good idea of their perspective.
When should kids be allowed to transition? We're at DC Pride to go figure it out. What do you guys think is the appropriate age for kids to transition?
The beginning of adolescence.
Like 13 or...
Mid-teens, like high school or something.
14 is fine for taking hormones.
In terms of taking medical substances, I would have a tough time prior to high school, so maybe that's 15-ish.
13-ish would be a good number, just specifically because that's around the time that a lot of kids are kind of figuring that stuff out for themselves. By the time.
It's one thing I noticed with these questions that these people tend to just answer the question based off the time when a child goes to puberty, which tends to be around, so for girls it could be 11, for boys it could be 12, 13, and so forth. But they're not realizing it's not so much about the development from the neck and below, but also about the development from the neck and above, what the child's going through in their mind. Because prior to this whole issue, I think when the last DSM came out, DSM-4, this was more of a psychological issue. Now they're making it more about a physical issue. So we're just trying to change things from your body parts, but not focus on the mind. And that's where it all starts.
Time you turn 15 or so, then yes, as long as your parents are willing to do it.
Do you guys have maybe an age range for when someone should be allowed to have a surgery?
18 or older, maybe.
I'd also say, I think 18.
Once they turn, 18.
See, that's what I think. So they say 18 for a surgery, but when it comes to hormone blockers or puberty blockers, they want to do it before your puberty start kicking in. But like I said, at 11 and 12, yes, you're going through puberty, but your mind is not correct. They should basically have these kids going to a psychologist or get some type of therapy, things of that issue first, before anything with their body is touched.
Child should be 18, so that way they know what they're doing.
18 is kind of when you become an adult. And I feel like that's kind of the age that if that's what you want to do, you should be able to make that choice.
At 18, they would know who they are better than if they're younger than 18.
I would say 15, 16, it's a good age when you kind of start to get to the point where you know yourself,
So if they're saying that you know yourself by the time you're about almost 18, then shouldn't you also wait before you take any type of injections or puberty blockers? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It should line up to the same, because puberty blockers will affect you negatively as you get older.
Your body.
I want to best understand how to support in non-medical ways first, and then learn how to support in more medical ways when I feel like they're approaching adulthood.
So you're saying before any kind of permanent surgery or hormone therapy is done at that age, then you can kind of figure out if we're going to go through the surgery. Is that right?
Yes, supporting them can exist without medical therapy.
Gender expression involves a lot of things that aren't just surgery.
And that's another thing, because let's say you don't, for instance, with her, she's not talking about giving her the puberty blockers too early, but giving her that support. And it looks like this lady is going to talk about from their gender, how they want to identify. You got to understand, that's also messing with the mind. That's why I can't really stand about a lot of these people, because they're not thinking fully. They're not seeing the whole entire, the forest for the trees per se, because they're only thinking about how the person feels at that moment. They're not thinking about how the person's going to be when they get older. And we don't know that. And they don't know that. So that's why we should allow for them to go through the trials and tribulation, give them the therapy they need. And when they get older, they decide. Because then it's going to be on them, not on their parents, not on the government, not on society. It'll be on them once they understand.
Surgery or hormonal treatment, you could dress in a way that's not like what your gender assignment typically dresses as, and I think that's appropriate from any age.
Social
No, that'll just create more confusion in the child's mind. That's all.
transition can start from anywhere from age 6. Social transition doesn't have any type of physical quandaries.
Do you think that kids should be allowed to transition?
Absolutely.
Even when they're like 2, 3 years old?
I don't think 2 or 3-year-olds understand what that is. 2 or 3-year-olds don't really understand what a ball is. So,
do you guys also have an age for maybe when hormone blockers would be permissible?
Any age, really. Those can be stopped at any time. For hormone blockers, that's nothing that doesn't really have any negative effects.
Blockers, right?
He said hormone blockers will not have any negative effects. He don't realize that can end up where a boy who takes hormone blockers, he changes his mind when he gets older, and he's going to have like a small dick. I mean, that could affect a boy becoming a man, affect his confidence as they get older. And a girl, she could probably get a mastectomy, or if she don't get a mastectomy, she takes hormone blockers. It could affect the size of her breast. It could affect her, how she develops as she gets older in regards to having kids and things of that nature. These people, they're so narrow-minded, man. And it's very unfortunate that it's being tricked by the media and also by social media and their friends and so forth. Man. Yeah.
There's no real negative impact of them, right? Because it just delays stuff. It doesn't like permanently prevent anything.
Both of y'all said that hormone blockers don't have any negative impacts. I've heard otherwise.
With any medication, there's some side effects, right?
I mean, I can just imagine, God forbid, I mean, I ain't talk about myself. I mean, I'm fine. But if a person grew up and had like a 2-inch dick, a 2-inch size penis, that's going to affect his confidence. I mean, that could make a man become possibly suicidal. I mean, this is dangerous. I mean, I would never advocate nothing like this because you got to see everything going further. You got to have more of a broad view of the topic. But a lot of these people, I mean, look at these people. I mean, what should I expect, man? Come on, man. Dave, what's wrong?
Like with Tylenol, there's side effects, right? But like you still give Tylenol to kids. There's some potential side effects with any medication, but it shouldn't prevent if somebody really wants that, because that stuff is like life-saving. And so people should still have access to that.
Gender-affirming care for young people has to do with, puberty blockers and all those kinds of things, which are incredibly reversible. They don't necessarily mean, I'm going to chop your penis off. If you allow them to go through...
No, but it's going to shorten your penis. That's what it's going to do, amongst other things as well. So, I mean, it's not going to be as bad as the surgery, because the surgery is pretty much that's permanent. But it's going to regress a lot of things. And that's what they're not talking about. So they're trying to say, that's why they always put it in nice, soft language. They call it gender affirming care. Or you don't want to give a child his care, what they need? No, this is not care. This is basically just hormonal mutilation. That's what it is.
Puberty, their voice is going to drop and all those kinds of things, and that allows them to not be cis-passing, which can be detrimental to their safety. Puberty blockers are completely...
They always talk about safety. You live in America. Imagine living in Uganda. That'll be a concern for safety. In America, come on, dude. You're on the street. I don't know if he probably gay, but you're on the street getting sunshine, relaxing. Got his girl here, whatever. Come on, man. People that are trans, LGBTQ, there's no. I won't say no, but 99% of the times they're safe. Okay. Yeah, you can have little people that are bigoted and want to act violence and so forth, but that's me. Like me as a black man. There's no, I'm not going to say there's no racism, but it's very little. It's very minute. This is a safe country overall.
Reversible.
I'm not a doctor, obviously. I've heard that they're not reversible, that it does cause serious and permanent changes. What do you think about the people who say that they could make a mistake maybe, and there might be an age that's too early, and they might change their minds later? What's your opinion?
things can happen, sure. But I think that something like that's that personal to a person is something that no one else has the right to decide or step on or intrude on.
No, he's wrong. Parents should have the right, because the parent's going to be there to say, I love you or care for you. I see further in life than you have, or you will see right now at age 12, 13. My child came up to me and said she want to do that. Please. I'd be like, sit your ass back down. When you turn 18, okay. But I mean, for the time being, after I tell her to sit her ass back down, I'll, take her to therapy. We'll get her the help she needs, to help with her mind first. And then she turns 18 and she still wants to do it. Go ahead. But not under my care. And her mother's care? No way. The parents. And that's another thing this does. This basically is just removing parents' rights and parents' authority over their children, and it's basically going to the state, i.e. government.
If it is a mistake for some people, they can, either detransition or go through that in their life later on, but it's not up to anybody else to say, no, you just can't do this.
What's your response to people who think that, again, that you can make a mistake? Maybe you feel a certain way at a certain time, you get a little older and you realize, maybe that's not what I want for myself. Maybe I am a straight person or I'm not transgender. What do you think about that?
I think that those people are trying to influence a thought of their own. And I come from a Baptist background, so I can relate to that.
What kind of...
He's basically talking about religion. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he seemed like a person where he probably was like beaten upside the head with a Bible, and he was basically he basically rebelled when he was younger and caused them to lead him to this lifestyle. That's what it sounds like to me in his based on his response. And that's true. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to be too harsh, and you don't want to be too aggressive on a particular child or person when it comes to your belief over their belief or their way of thinking. Because you can actually push a person much further away than bringing them closer, which is their main objective. So I agree with him on that regard.
What response do you have for that situation?
Everything's not going to be perfect, but if there's something that changes, if there's something that wasn't right, that I agree that's unfortunate. So maybe detransitioning situations have been not fully advised earlier on. Maybe we do need to make sure that there is a high level of certainty, a high level of confidence in the...
What the hell? Is that a bumper on that guy's lip? Oh, God. Ooh, I don't even want to know what that is.
In the situation.
Most of the time, people do not detransition. It's a very small percentage amount of people. So it really depends. But I really think...
I mean, you can't really make that assessment yet because we're so early in the situation. We're so early in this whole experiment. Once kids get to a certain age, I guarantee we're going to see more requests for detransitioning. And the few that have requested it, their stories are being put to the back pages, because they don't want that promoted because it goes against the narrative.
That the best thing to do is let them do what they want because it is reversible due to the laws that are currently in place.
But that's all I got to say on that regard. I pretty much already had an idea what a lot of these answers are going to be. Just very unfortunate that a lot of these young people, because most of them are young people, a few older men, but a lot of them think this way because they're being indoctrinated to think this way. And it's just going to get worse. People keep saying that, if we get Trump in office or this politician, that can help, create a dent. But what I'm thinking about is that a lot of these systems have to be broken down, and it has to be taken over, especially the education system in America. I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, what they're doing with the teachers after the whole thing with the pandemic, where kids staying at home to be schooled, it messed things up, and it's just making things 10 times worse. So that's something that has to be corrected, in my opinion, in order for us to at least make some type of course correct to go back in the right direction, where people can actually, think and use common sense. Like, oh, maybe a child should wait till they're an adult before they're making a life-changing decision like puberty blockers and or surgery. But anyway, leave a comment down below. Tell me, not even about the age, but do you think that children should have the ability to take puberty blockers prior to becoming an adult? Let me know.